Constantly shifting through the time-space continuum, Metron's three disciples observe the universe from the Mobius Couch.
Straddle the line in discord and rhyme. I'm on the hunt. I'm after you. My mouth is alive with juices like wine, and I'm hungry like the Mobius Couch.
Yikes.
That's Duran Duran. It's a classic.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah, it's hungry like the
yeah.
Mobius Couch. Top 10 hit from the 80s.
That's way better than Shania Twain's Gonna Get You.
Gonna get ya.
That's a good
Gonna
call.
get ya. All right, well, like Shania Twain, we're gonna get ya all the way to the Mobius Couch, a time-space interdimensional vehicle from which your three hosts survey the universe of comic books. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the couch. I'm Alessandro, and as usual, I'm joined by Patrick.
Oh my gosh, hey guys, what's going on? So good to see you.
Oh, perfect. Flawless.
Great
Loved
to
it.
see you. And of course, Joe is also here. Joe, what's up?
Hello, Al. Hello, Patrick.
Patrick's was way more enthusiastic. Hey, hello.
How are you doing?
I love
All
our
right.
new,
Good to
I
hear.
love our new intro. The new intro is great.
Oh, then we debuted the new intro.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for those of you
It's
listening, nothing sounds different.
Different.
For those of
Watch
you,
on YouTube.
It's just visual.
yeah, but for those of you who have subscribed to our OnlyFans and are watching there, our intro now has
Wait,
kind
we have
of
an OnlyFans?
yeah, of course, the only couch, OnlyFans only couch.
Yeah.
So, but the intro now visually
Just reading
is
comics naked on Twitch.
Yeah.
Joe. I'm trying to paint a picture for our listeners.
Sorry.
So our new intro is comic versions of ourselves as DC's New Gods characters.
Uh-huh.
Because the Mobius Couch is, of course, a reference to the Mobius chair, which is a New
Yes,
Gods
correct.
thing.
That's correct.
Yes.
So you're really missing out if you're listening to this, but I don't know what to say. I apologize. Just keep listening, though, because we need those. We need the three of you to continue to listen week after
Yeah, we
week.
need those listens, you know?
Yeah. Okay, back to the Mobius Couch. Today, we have a special treat because we are going to talk about 2012's voted, that's not the way to phrase it, what was voted in 2012 as the greatest Spider-Man arc of all time. It's a pretty big deal. We are, of course, talking about Kraven's Last Hunt, which was a 1980s...
Al, it's okay, Al.
Why there?
You said Kraven's Last Hunt. It was a good transition moment, and I was switching the backgrounds.
That's so unnerving to be interrupted like that by this machine. Okay. So Kraven's Last Hunt, 1987, 6-issue arc, written by J.M. Matteis and drawn by Mike Zeck. So, again, voted the best Spider-Man arc of all time. It must be a very slow track because this was a train wreck on fire full of shit.
Yeah.
This is terrible. Okay, let's talk about it though.
I guess let's just get right into it. We're not going to be able to cover up our feelings for very long, I feel like. So I think
this. And it feels very all right. Well, let's talk about overarch. We can go issue by issue because I have a lot to say, but like overarching stuff.
I have a quick question for you. Do you have like the list of the Spider-Man arcs? Like, what?
No,
below
Wikipedia.
this?
Wikipedia just told me this was number one.
Okay.
But so quick overall, just take on this. This is typical late '80s, like Frank Miller fanfic of just all. This was the period when all the Marvel artists were just trying to be Frank Miller. It's a dirty, gritty New York. There's ninjas on rooftops and rain all the time and women being raped on the sidewalk, and it's just gritty shit. And it's just trying to be Frank. I don't know what to say. This is just trying to be Frank Miller. It's trying to be Ronin. It's trying to be Ninja Turtles, which is also trying to be Frank Miller. This is just very Frank Miller. And as we know, one thing I don't like.
Love Frank Miller. Wait,
Yeah,
what were you going to say? What were you going to say?
One thing I basically categorically don't enjoy is Frank Miller comics. But this is very much that.
I feel like that goes against everything you've ever said on the podcast.
Well, that's true. Well, I'm going to come out and
Constantly
say
talking about how great he is and how
he is the
underrated
best.
he
He is the best. He is the best.
Thank you.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go into more depth than that. Just that was my. It just again felt very Miller-esque, like the atmosphere, the tone, and everything. And it's not for me. It's not a tone of comic that is for me. So this is my general take on these 6 issues.
My overall take was just I had no idea what was going on the entire time. I think maybe if I read this more slowly, I think there might be some more themes buried in there, because I don't really understand why it's considered the greatest Spider-Man story ever. I mean, my only experience with Kraven the Hunter is from the 90s Spider-Man animated Saturday morning cartoon show, so I don't know much about the guy. I will say he looks good. He looks great. He's a total daddy. Daddy even.
I mean, he does keep in shape.
Very sexy.
He's not afraid to show it off 80s.
Either. Tom Selleck, you know, I know he's got the little goatee, but specifically the mustache. I mean,
yeah,
it may have been my imagination, but even when he was dressed up as Spider-Man, I still felt like they drew him a little bit more thick, and you could tell.
No, yeah, he was definitely bigger.
He was a little more muscular.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think Al's right. This is a year or two after Dark Knight Returns, when comics kind of were starting to evolve into a little bit more of a gritty atmosphere, and they really were starting to deep dive into, you know, the characters and the dark side of superheroes and all that stuff. And I think some of it worked well. I did enjoy, you know, Mary Jane knows he's Spider-Man now, and she has an internal monologue where she's like thinking about what he might be doing, and then it'll say, he's dead, like capitalized, like her intrusive thoughts are hitting. And playing with Spider-Man kind of becomes obsessed with death and thinking that he could also easily die and his own mortality. There's a scene where Spider-Man is beating up the Vermin character, and then he starts getting scared, and he keeps saying that he's like, I'm scared. He starts running away. So there's things I thought were interesting about it, but it is very much in that vein. I think if I read this in 1987, it probably would have been, I get why it might be a groundbreaking Spider-Man comic, but reading it, you know, 30, almost 40 years later, it wasn't something, I mean, I was flabbergasted. When he gets high on mushroom soup and spiders started attacking him, I couldn't tell what was real life, what wasn't. I mean, it starts off with the images, if you're watching YouTube, it starts off with him fighting like taxidermy animals in his lobby or his study. There was
well, let's because we're going to get into these issues more.
Yeah, we're going to get into these issues. But I remember when we were reading this, like Al just, first of all, I read it first, but I didn't say anything. I was like, this is fucking insane. And then Al just texted, like, I think I read most of it in one night, like it's all in one go. But I read it a little bit the next day or something, and I was like finishing it up, and I remember Al just texting us, "This is unhinged." I can't agree with that sentiment more. Like that's what I was thinking the entire thing, because like insane doesn't cover it. It's just beyond. It's like a step beyond. Like this doesn't make it. It makes sense. So I'm not gonna say it doesn't make sense, but it's just so in through his eyes and his spectrum. Yeah. And then you bring in the random rat guy character, and you're like hearing his narration. I'm like, I don't need to hear this. Like, and just so much of this book that I was just like, this is fucking crazy. I do love Mike Zeck's art in a old school 80s way. Like he was Spider-Man to me when I was a kid. Like I read a lot of Web of Spider. I'm surprised I didn't read these issues. Apparently I read all around these issues. So like, you know, when I was a kid and that young, like I didn't always collect the same book repeatedly month to month. I would just like get a story, and then I'm reading Flash this week when we go to the comic shop, you know, or whatever. I was pretty heavy during the like Spider-Man gets married, Spider-Man's in the black costume, Secret Wars, like the Venom stuff, like so all of that was like right in this zone because he's wearing the black costume and Zeck's drawing it, and I'm like, I must have just completely missed these, or maybe I flipped through it in the beginning and just saw naked Kraven the Hunter, and I was like, and I'm done with that. You know,
you may have just you might have just missed it because this wasn't like a special edition crossover or anything. It was just
so that was
6 Spider-Man comics
but it was 3. It was weird in the sense that it went across all 3 Spider-Man books.
Oh yeah, right. It was all the Spider books,
but that made it fast too. So it was only 2 months and it was gone. Like it's not like I could have easily missed it in the mix of things or whatever. But
yeah, but a little
it was funny that I kind of collected Spider-Man around this time, and it's pretty shocking that I never even read this. But I don't like it. Wasn't good.
Yeah, I don't think any of us, right. But a little bit of background, on this. So apparently, I don't know if it's pronouncing it right. Matteis,
I think that's
DeMatteis.
correct.
DeMatteis. It sounds like a Redwall mouse warrior or something. But anyway, DeMatteis originally pitched this as a Wonder Man comic to Marvel.
Oh, was it Wonder Man? Wonder Man.
I know.
yeah,
I also, the first
Man.
12 times I read that, I was like, what does Wonder Woman have to do with this? And then I was like, oh, Wonder Man. Wonder Man is a Marvel thing.
Yeah.
But Marvel shot it down.
Wonder Man was relatively, like, not famous, but at least used way more often during this period in the 80s. Like, he was on West Coast Avengers and relatively popular. Like, my brother Tom loved Wonder Man.
But that was shot down. So they went to DC and pitched this as a Batman comic with the Joker. But then DC was already about to do Killing Joke, and editors deemed that this was too similar in sort of scope and theme to the Killing Joke. So that fell through. And then finally he got it with Spider-Man, and it was originally going to be Spider-Man versus an all-new villain invented for this. But then legend goes that he was reading a Marvel encyclopedia and found out that Kraven was Russian, and he liked Dostoevsky, and so he decided, I'm going to just do him as the bad guy, because I like Russian novels.
This is all true. Yeah.
So that's the genesis of
And they almost
Spider-Man's
didn't let him do it
greatest
with
story.
Kraven. They were like, no, the new villain's so much better.
He should have listened. Yeah, they should have just not done this at all. But,
So the concept I like the idea that one of them actually wins and kills Spider-Man, at least to the audience at first, kind of thing. Like you find out later he's just drugged and they buried him because Kraven's fucked up and he has some weird sense of like what he considers to be his ultimate achievement. It's kind of a fun idea, like burying the hero and like going like, oh shit, and then having them crawl out of the grave is pretty crazy, kind of thing. But and although it is unhinged, there are parts where I'm like, oh well, he's high on all kinds of crazy drugs right now, so Spider-Man's going through all this weird shit, so he's seeing all these visions and it's not making a lot of sense. And then he crawls out from under a grave and he's freaking out even more. But there's just certain like elements of it that kind of are okay, but then at the same time there's just most of the narration like going over is just bonkers. If you wanted to write a comic from the perspective of an insane person, you did it, I guess, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, they achieved it. But let's just jump into... So issue 1, I mean, it just starts out... It didn't even pretend. It's just he's naked and inhaling drug fumes and decapitating stuffed animals and just running around naked in his basement. By him, I mean Kraven. Kraven is doing
He has a mansion akin to Batman would have, like kind of thing. Like he has like this sprawling mansion and grounds. And then on that note, I was like, does Parker not know where this dude lives? Like, just go.
I guess not. I guess not.
This is a hidden mansion? He doesn't have his address? I don't know. I just thought it was crazy.
All these details, as he's doing this, there's a shirtless bald man digging a grave in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Why not wear a raincoat when you're doing that? I mean, again, he looks great too. He's ripped. Like he's also just jacked.
He's jacked, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But why
pretty much
not-
everyone in this arc passes the Snyder Zeus test.
Yeah, I don't know if we even need to do. They're all like
He's real
AIDS.
thin.
No, Spider-Man's pretty jacked too.
I mean, he's ripped. He's ripped, but he's like lithe.
A lot of definition there, but I mean, he's a thick boy.
He
actually-
what's going on there?
He actually sort of looks a lot like Tobey Maguire.
I was gonna
Spider-Man.
say,
like it's that
specifically,
level of sort of
talking about running around naked. There's specific. I think it's in this first one. Look how little is hanging down there for Kraven's shadow. That's all I gotta say. He's butt ass naked. There's nothing there in that one. And then later on, all I'm saying is later on, Peter is also in a very silhouetted position, and there's some bulge. I think Kraven the Hunter he's a eunuch or something. There's nothing there.
That's possible.
It must be the censors, right? Because there's no way Kraven, like, look at that dude. He's going to rock
he's
your
such
world.
a manly man, and to have no dong? Is that all I'm saying is maybe he's making up for something. That's all I'm saying.
Well, maybe all the steroids he does too. Don't those shrink your penis, according to legend, urban legend?
Balls.
Your balls. So he's just all shaft. All shaft and no balls.
Yeah,
there's no sec.
Okay. So let's move on. So immediately we're kind of introduced to this. I don't even want to call it a theme because a theme would imply it's really developed in a meaningful and artistic way. But this,
there's so many people that love this book and they're going to hate us for this episode.
yeah, okay. But But they again, not a theme, but they do
Yeah.
introduce this idea of Spider-Man coming to grips with death immediately because this random jabroni is dead in some Irish pub, and he goes there.
It's I think it was like a.
It's Joe Face. How dare you?
I know, but I mean, like, that should totally have been my name.
He also, Joe, I don't know if you have a screenshot of this, but Spider-Man grabs money out of like his dick pouch.
Yeah,
to drop in there, like he grabs it out of his crotch.
Listen, Mel, read some '80s comics. Classically, in the '80s, Spider-Man has a little Spider-Man utility belt, and he keeps money and shit in it. It's under his costume. It's silver, and it's like usually really smooth, and and with little lines drawn on it, kind of like Colossus arms.
Can we also talk about how Batman is crouched over a dead man, caressing his face? Who is that? Spider-Man. He's black. Sorry, yeah, Spider-Man.
Black Spider-Man.
Black
I
Spider-Man.
actually really, really loved the black costume in the '80s. It was like one of my favorites.
Oh, a quick side note. Because I've only, like, in the TV show and in video games and stuff, he's got the Venom costume for all of 5 minutes before it then turns him.
I mean, I know he had the costume for a while. Even after Venom was Venom, like, he kept wearing like a cloth version of the suit.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And then eventually he was like, wait, people are mistaking me for a villain. I should probably not do this.
But is this the Venom? Is this the symbiote costume at this point in time, or is it already?
This is cloth. This is cloth costume.
Yeah. This
like
is
the way he
cloth.
pulls his shirt up and gets the money out. This is cloth costume.
Okay.
Spider-Man.
But I just wanted to mention he's crouched over a dead man, caressing him, like that. Is that appropriate?
I mean,
behavior?
I think it's not like it's like one of his snitches. It's like one of his like
informants.
That's what I don't get about it. Like personally, I'm just
Joe. How many of your at best acquaintances do you touch when they're dead? Like, do you hover over and caress?
Lots
Sensually.
of them. I would say everyone.
Also,
and
the shirt.
And then I take money out of my jockstrap and throw it down on the ground.
And the next page is Kraven still naked, just gobble shoving spiders into his mouth. Just
is that
it's madness.
Just eating all these spiders.
No, this part's real. He legitimately has a room filled with spiders.
Yeah, because it's this thing like if you eat your prey, then you can become your prey or some madness.
Later on, he does have like some crazy mushroom trips, as Patty was saying, when he drinks the weird soup. And then, like, the spiders form up into a giant, like, mass. And that's not real, obviously. Like, that's not actually happening. It's drugs.
Obviously.
But not so obvious. I get you. Also, it's so... what's interesting? Like, like, Batman has bats. And, like, he's Batman. And he does things out of a cave. And, like, there's bats in the cave. And then he names everything after bats. His whole thing. Spider-Man, like... Once bitten by the spider, he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't really care if the spiders are around.
Well, but that's the difference. Because Spider-Man...
he doesn't live in a giant web. I don't...
Joe,
nothing.
But that's the difference.
Well, why call yourself Spider-Man? Why don't you just be like, I have superpowers now?
No, because he was bitten by a spider, and his DNA is part spider, so he is Spider. Batman's a human posing is a Batman, so he has to put on all these airs.
The theme. That's all I'm saying.
But I'm saying Batman has to consciously exhibit all these signs and symbols to show he's a Batman, where Spider-Man is like, this is just me. Okay. I'm Spider DNA.
All right, fair enough.
Dino DNA.
They really, so aside from the nudity, they really, even with his costume, it's like bare, I mean, it's like a little sliver.
Okay, also, his costume is cancel bait, right? Like, this could not fly right now. It is a 1930s Zulu warrior. It's like a 1930s Hollywood vision of a Zulu warrior looking costume. It is not a, PC for today.
I mean, it's just iconic comic costume at this point. I mean, now he wears pants and stuff.
He does.
His loincloth is like a flap of leopard skin in front of his dick.
Yeah, he. I
mean, he's
not afraid to bear it. Not afraid to bear it all. But in the upcoming Kraven the Hunter film that we're getting, for reasons no one understands, I think he wears pants.
Of course.
Yeah. So they fight.
How much different would that movie be if that dude was wearing this costume?
I mean, I'd probably want to see the movie more than I do.
I'd go see it for sure. I'd be like,
yeah, I mean, I don't want to see the movie at all right now.
For real?
Also, what's on his? Are those? That must be like a Bengal tiger's skin on his forearms.
Oh,
right?
on his bracers.
Not a zebra.
That wouldn't. I don't think it's got to be zebra. It's got to be zebra because a Bengal. First of all, Patrick, a Bengal tiger is not a white tiger, and Bengal tigers are also native to India in that area, not Africa.
Drawing on that context because Bengali from Thundercats was a white tiger.
Yeah, obviously everyone knows Bengal tigers are white.
I'm sorry,
everyone knows this. I researched it via Thundercats and those two musician guys.
And Thundercats.
I mean, by musicians, I mean magicians. You know what I'm talking about? What are those guys' names?
Well, it could be, maybe a Bengal tiger is more, maybe those are more commonly white. I don't know. But I don't think they're exclusively white. I see.
I
think those are zebra. Those are zebra Bengals.
They look like zebra, I think. Lions hunt zebra, and he's wearing a lion around his shoulders. Come on, dude.
That's true.
Right
Which is actually, who else wore, Patrick, you're a classics buff. Who else wore a lion as a cape?
Hercules?
You got it. Hercules reference. Yeah.
You think it is? I don't think so.
Definitely has to be. It's it's classic imagery of a lion pelt over your shoulders. It's Hercules.
Yeah, I guess.
I did think it was funny how easily Kraven dispatched Spider-Man by using a gun.
Well, first it's a net, which I thought. Well,
no,
first he drugs
tranquilizer first,
then
punch, then net.
Yeah, tranquilizer. So he's drugged, then net, and then while that's happening, the drugs make him hallucinate and see Joe Face again. He hits him with the net, and that's when he's like, wait a minute, he's serious this time. That's a rifle. What's he doing? And then he gets shot.
Well, that's what I liked. There's two internal monologues of Spider-Man, the yellow and the red. Mm-hmm. And I liked how in his head he was kind of saying Kraven was like a typical super villain. He's like, he's just like Doc Ock and the Vulture and all the rest of them. And then the red thing's like, what's on his hand? Looks like a rifle. He's like, he's going to take me off to some secret hideout, spend a couple of hours ranting. A rifle?
He literally, after that, he says, come on, Cravey, rifles aren't your style.
A rifle? He keeps saying rifle, and he's just like,
well, oh my God. I think it's Matteis' way of just kind of playing with that trope of, taking you to the lair and torturing you, but not kill you. Right. I think it's just.
Well, also, I mean, so even in current comics, like, which I actually despise, but everybody has their own color and color of font these days in most narrations. But, classically, narrations were just that yellow box kind of thing. So I guess it wouldn't be that hard to be like, oh, that's Spider-Man talking, and the red is him being upset, like within those thoughts. But like they color everyone's differently, and that, I don't know. It was almost confusing. However, Mary Jane's is pink, so I knew exactly who was talking because she's a girl, and that was easy to discern.
So he shoots him.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, he shoots him.
The whole beat is funny. He's like, Spider-Man's like, come on, Cravey. Rifles aren't your style.
Rifles aren't your style.
Me the hamburger with your bare hands. Not a rifle.
You've always been a macho man.
Well, I actually, I didn't read that so much as him joking, but as him trying to kind of like desperately plead with him.
Reason with him. Like he seemed scared.
Yeah. He was thinking about how death is coming for him at any moment, and now he's got a gun pointed in his face. So.
Just like Joe.
Yep.
Jabroni just Joe,
like,
who's dead.
Just like Joe Face, melting his face melting off in the rain.
Yeah, so then, they bury him, and the gravedigger still didn't have a shirt on, and it's raining. Why? I don't get.
That gravedigger, solid upper body, but, I mean, those legs, nothing. Man, it's definitely straight leg day.
Just straight.
Oh, yeah, there's no cake on that, too, either. It's just a straight line down.
Straight line.
What do you guys think about the over-the-top Kraven like grin, like the giant grin?
I think it's just he's insane. He's lost his mind because I couldn't figure out why he was so sad and then he was so excited.
And they at the end of this issue too, because
his plan's working, Patty.
All these issues are basically framed by the Tiger Burning Bright in the Forest of the Night poem by I gotta look it up. I think it's William Blake or something Blake.
It's William Blake. He says it in the introduction of the copy I have.
So we see it, it ends with this, the fearful symmetry and all that. Let's go to issue 2. And the cover of issue 2 is, again, just him.
Yeah, it's really... just... So that's actually... that's the kind of thing I sort of appreciate, actually, though.
Just an almost naked man?
No, just like the Mike Zeck style isn't... I mean, it's kind of subtle, but like... It's kind of that classic, like, hero villain, like, it's just over the top. His body's arching in a weird way. No one would actually stand that way. Like, comic art has gotten very realistic, like, in terms of, like, how people stand, which is fine. But, like, there was a certain, like, art to that exaggerated pose that Mike Zeck could do back in the day, and others like him. Like Alan Davis is classic, elite good at this, kind of thing. Anyway.
One art note I wanted to make that I appreciated. So the first panel is a little foreshadowing of vermin coming up. You see a little rat on the grave.
So again, like that's another thing, like thematically, I just don't need all these like cuts to the grave and then literally a spider and a rat are like fighting it out. Like, come on.
Yeah. But we do see that Kraven
a little over the top.
We do see that Kraven's wearing a costume, so we don't know why yet, but he's just wearing a costume. And next we're introduced by Vermin so I guess he basically rapes and murders that woman, right? Like we never see her again.
No, he murders her and eats her. I don't think he rapes her.
I don't think he rapes her.
Okay, he just eats her.
He just eats her. Yeah, he just murders and eats her.
He is.
Although Mary Jane definitely has it running with some rapists that are hilarious.
Maybe that's why I conflated it because
hilariously drawn street thugs.
Maybe I just confused it with that because this comic is so rape sexually charged.
There is a lot of like undertones of like I don't know.
Which again,
Vermin licks that cop's face later.
I don't. It's and again, this is as we've done this podcast for women in danger is not my favorite trope in comics, but this comic is just dripping with just women. Anyone who steps outside is a victim of some kind of attack.
I mean, do you remember New York in the 80s?
Well, it was I don't, but apparently it was a rough place. So I guess maybe
Mary Jane walking around the streets at night looking for Spider-Man is a little risky. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, this was not today's New York.
Oh, there's the rapist right there. That's in this issue.
Yeah.
We cut to Mary Jane, and she's like, and as Patty said earlier, like her narration is normal, but then like Spider-Man, it's interrupted by like a heavier narration. Like she has the intruding thought that he could be dead out there because it's been like, I don't know, does it say 2 weeks or something? It's been a while. Like he's been. Yeah, but
she's wearing only. She's shirt and maybe no underwear. It's super.
Just moved in together, bro. Come on.
Okay, it's just obviously it's a hypersexualized woman for no reason. She
murders a rat with a boot.
She does murder a rat.
Oh yeah,
viciously murders a rat. I did. Going back to Vermin, I guess he was. No, I wouldn't say big, but I guess he was relevant at the time, where he was a bit more. I mean,
they said like in this, Kraven describes Captain America and Spider-Man fighting him to stop him.
I found him. I'm not a big, just to make this about me because I like to make most things about me. Mm-hmm. I hate I find body horror really unsettling as a genre.
Yeah.
So characters like Vermin that are humans who have sort of like devolved and lost their humanity into a monstrous form, especially losing mental acuity, I find really disturbing. That's
like Solomon really born on a Monday.
No, well, he rhymes. Dead. He rhymes. He's fine, and he's dead, but also he rhymes. So I think that's okay.
What about Clayface?
Like he was. I felt like Vermin was based off of Gollum from the animated.
Yeah, it seemed very hobbity.
Like he was.
Well, he's kind of the fly, right? But instead of the fly, it's a rat.
Well, he's vicious. He's vicious. He's powerful, and he's dangerous. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, he's super vulnerable. He'll go from being menacing to being terrified really fast, and that kind of like fluctuation in emotion was
like spoilers, but like
the Gollum.
Peter beats him in the end by like just getting him out into the sunlight. He gets scared. Yeah, he gets scared because there's cars moving around and people, and he's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
But meanwhile, to be a pretty
pull people down into the sewers.
Yeah, when he grabs that woman and pulls her into the sewer, that was a pretty terrifying scene.
It was pretty terrifying.
I mean,
also she's genuinely like, "What the fuck's happening? Are you? Oh my god!" And like kind of freaks out. Like, I mean, who wouldn't? Giant rat man pulled me into the sewer. And there's just literal bones all around him. I'd be pretty freaked out.
Yeah, and so the rest of this issue is bizarre because it's basically as we are introduced to Vermin being Vermin in the sewer, Kraven's just doing more drugs and eating more spiders.
He's wearing the skin of his enemy, and he's becoming a spider.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, yes.
What don't you understand?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's that simple. Yeah, that's so. And then in the meantime, Mary Jane goes out.
Spider-Man. Yeah.
So Mary Jane is out. Of course, she's accosted by thugs because she's outside of New York City, and you can't do that. It's.
I mean,
she gets heckled by the two whitest white milk toast, wet hot American summer looking motherfuckers I've ever seen in my life, and I was dying laughing. When I saw it. Like
it is very. It's what's
the short shorts and the high
black,
socks. Yeah, it's very.
Yeah, the super short 80s shorts and the high socks is fantastic.
But she is ironically saved by Kraven, Spider Kraven.
Yeah, so in the interim of that, Spider Kraven was having his drug-addled fight with a monster spider made up of many, many little spiders.
As one does.
Okay, let's just jump to
really
issue.
Show him overcome it, but obviously he did. And so then.
Well, my last note on Vermin, I did enjoy that he getting his perspective on his thoughts on Spider-Man and how he's genuinely terrified of Spider-Man. And I mean, Spider-Man in the black suit, he's pretty terrifying. So I enjoyed that little piece. I think Vermin might have been the most interesting character. I thought
I found him disgusting and distasteful.
Completely opposite.
Just disgusting.
I was just like,
I did not like him.
Cut away from this. I know.
Like he was. Well, that's what I think.
Show me more Spider-Man, but Spider-Man's dead.
I think that's what I enjoyed about though, because he was he's a villain I wouldn't want to have to deal with.
Fair enough.
I'd rather be fighting Kraven than Vermin, because Vermin just seems very. The unhinged. I mean, I guess Kraven's also unhinged.
I think Vermin would be easy. You just ask it, what's the square root of 19? And he would just not be able to function, right? It's like a robot. Like if you fight a robot with if you ask him a paradox, the robot shuts down. If you just ask Vermin to be smart, he's going to shut down and run away.
It's the fact his emotions go like there's even one little panel where he's about to go out of the sewer. And he lifts the sewer up, and he's got the really devious, menacing eyes. Mm-hmm. And then a little spider kind of crawls down, and he sees it, and he gets terrified.
And he freaks out and runs away.
And there's something about that dynamic that really throws me off. That it scares me more than a villain who's just like a straight up villain.
Because it's unpredictable, right? It's the unpredictability is.
Yeah.
Well,
he also eats rats too, which I mean, he just ate that woman.
It is weird that he eats the thing he is, but Kraven's also eating the thing he is, because he's eating the spider to become the spider.
He's eating the spider, but
so maybe Vermin's just becoming a rat. He's still becoming.
He's immersing himself in his enemy and his fear.
Yeah.
So we can overcome it.
Okay, let's just go. Issue 3 is just more.
Hold on. He beats the crap out of them, and Mary Jane is like, "Oh shit, that's not Spider-Man. That's not Peter. He would never do that. Or something's wrong with Peter." So she's even more worried than she was when he was missing. Because basically, Kraven as Spider-Man jumps down and beats the shit out of the people that she was getting accosted by.
The Wet Hot American.
Also, another inside baseball note is apparently this was around when Mary Jane and Peter just got married or were about to.
Basically right after.
Yeah,
I mean,
but so Marvel...
yeah.
Marvel was very much apparently told Matteis you've got to... that's got to be central because the Mary Jane Spider-Man relationship is our core thing now. Okay, next issue, Kraven beats up.
So we need to really highlight her.
Yeah.
So
Kraven beats up more thug people.
Well, in this one, he genuinely snaps someone's neck. He kills people in this.
Yeah.
He is the OG ultimate Captain America. He brutalizes.
He is basically
He's doing
mauling
kicks
people
and just breaking people's necks.
Yeah.
I mean, the way he breaks that one guy's neck is very similar to
this dude. He slams his face into a car windshield.
Yeah.
He just slams the dude's face through it. Yeah, he is.
I mean, you have to give Kraven credit. I mean, he doesn't have superpowers, and he's crushing right now.
Well, no, but I'm sure those drugs are performance enhancing
or something. Yeah,
they've got to be performance enhancing drugs. At the very least, PEDs, but maybe more.
But he is very committed to killing people, so there is that.
And at the end, he shouts to rainy New York, "I am Kraven."
Well, because he's struggling with he's becoming Spider-Man so much he's forgetting.
Look how broad those shoulders are. Those traps.
He's huge.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, Vermin murders another woman. Because again, if you're outside of New York and you're a woman, you are going to be attacked by somebody.
So the way she gets murdered is, It's very Looney Tunes though. Like when he pulls that woman in the sewer,
he yanks her in the alley. Yeah, he yanks her in the alley.
This one was almost unsettlingly comical. Like Bugs Bunny just like he yanked her in the alley, and now she's dead. And it says "yum."
I think the key here is that it's showing he's above ground killing somebody versus underground pulling someone in. So he's like getting braver, so to speak. And then he sees the cops see him like scurrying across the street. And I guess he has the ability to call rats to his aid.
I was going to say, if that's his power, he's a terrifying villain.
That's terrifying. Yeah, that's like Ratcatcher from that new Suicide Squad movie.
But we see him kind of struggling with his past. Like, he sees people and he says, like, "Oh, I used to be a man," and then you just see the struggle of, "Am I man? Am I rat? What's going on?"
Yeah.
He finds a black woman that he says is just like his mother, and then licks her face, which is, I guess, what you do to your mom.
Of course,
well, she was a police officer.
It's
Maybe
just
his
a
mom
common.
was a cop. Why is it got to be race, Al?
Because he says, "Skin so dark, lips so full." These are quotes.
He made it rackest.
Yeah, these are quotes from the comic.
Yeah.
So soft, so dark, lips so full. Just like mother, I love you, lick across the face. So both racist and like Oedipally creepy.
Oof, wow.
Anyway, Vermin, everybody.
Yeah, Vermin. We
Vermin.
get this cut with Mary Jane. So she goes to see. I forgot his name.
Is it Robbie? It's Robbie,
yeah.
right?
Is it Yeah, it's Robbie Robertson, right?
Robbie Robertson, yeah.
Okay. So I was gonna say Mr. Robertson, and I was like, is that right? Wait, am I wrong? Wait.
Well, he is. I mean, he is a Mr. Robertson.
No, he is. But so she's having a conversation, and she basically is like, and so back in the day, Robbie kind of was always like, I kind of know, but I've never, kind of like Jim Gordon, sort of like in the sense of like, he's always talking to Peter about Spider-Man. He kind of knows, but he never says anything out loud. You never really know if he knows or not. Like they never flat out say if he does or not. I think he's literally reading about Spider-Man going berserk in the paper. And then Mary Jane comes in and she goes, "Hi, Peter's, something wrong with Peter." And he's like, "Something wrong with Peter? What's wrong? What's wrong?" And she's like, fuck, I can't tell you. I gotta go, kind of thing. I think it's clear. Like, again, it's just one of those instances like back in the day when they'd be like, he does sort of know, guys, but we're not going to talk about it here. Don't we need
the next scene is Kraven with a rat in a cage, and he's got a knife and he keeps trying to stab it. And then it flashes to Vermin in the sewer. And what is Kraven's powers? Is he able to like telepathically?
No, he's not doing shit. No.
Well, why is Vermin reacting that way? And why is
because Vermin? We talked about he's connected to other rats like rat catchers, so he can sense the other rats' fear.
Kraven says, "I am inside you, Vermin. Can you hear my call? Don't resist. Let destiny take our hands." Draws close.
Well, he's just being poetic. Yeah, he's just being kind of poetic. But I think what Vermin is feeling is the other rat's fear.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
right.
That's horrible. If you can't turn that off, there's so many rats in New York.
Yeah, but they're usually eating pizza and stuff. They're fine.
Yeah,
they're fine. Or
training turtles to be ninjas, stuff like that.
There's a bunch of rats that have lived perfectly fine lives.
Yeah. What if there's like what if there's 4 teenage turtles that have been living with Vermin and are just like horribly scarred, having him as their father?
They have no fucking.
They're just a version of it. Yeah, they're just scarred for. But so Kraven goes to the sewer and dominates Vermin to prove he's the best.
Which
Spider-Man.
Again, it's not just proving he's a better Spider-Man. It is, but I mean,
it is.
It's being Spider-Man better than Spider-Man has been Spider-Man, even though he needed Captain America. It's this whole convoluted thing. Anyway.
Yeah. Whoa. He's not a better Spider-Man. He's a more effective.
He does the thing that Spider-Man was incapable of doing, and therefore is better.
It's not.
Spider-Man
simple.
Is capable of doing that, though. Spider-Man's always pulling his punches. He's kind of like Superman.
That's not the point, though, Pet. The
I
point
completely
is,
agree with you.
The point, as far as Kraven as far as Kraven conceives it, he is being a better Spider-Man. Because his conception of it is merely to dominate all of the strongest prey.
Yeah, he did street toughs, and then he moved on to organized crime, and now he's fighting a supervillain that Spider-Man couldn't do by himself and needed Captain America's help. So
he's
by
just
doing
step
it by
by
himself,
step.
he's winning.
Yeah. He is #winning. #winning.
Kraven thinks he refers to Spider-Man as the Spider, and he says the Spider is the reason why Russia collapsed. And he basically says Lenin was a spider as well. Like What was
It's
the
very
deal with
it's
that?
an I think it's an anti-communist rant. I think he's saying it's because of communism is why the Russian Empire crumbled.
Right.
I think it was anti-communist, right?
Like I wasn't sure what he kept saying. He doesn't belong in this world anymore. Like the world doesn't make sense to. I couldn't understand what his gripe was about exactly. Like,
I think
what about it that he wasn't?
I think Spider-Man's been the only one to defeat him. So to feel redeemed, he has to defeat Spider-Man and become Spider-Man and be a better Spider-Man than Spider-Man was.
Okay,
and then he can be done.
Yeah.
So also, Spider-Man in the context of what Kraven specifically thinks Spider-Man.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
It's what he conceives it is. And also, in terms of the anti-communism, in Kraven's defense, this was the 80s and he wasn't alive in 2024 and the real late-stage disaster that is capitalism, and he probably just didn't realize.
That's true.
You know,
He didn't know.
that housing would be unaffordable and education would be unaffordable. He probably couldn't have foreseen any of that.
Those are luxuries, Al. Education, housing.
Those are luxuries, yeah.
Those are luxuries.
All right, issue 4. Well, issue 4 is, by the way, this is a cover that I'd seen before. This is sort of an iconic comic cover of Spider-Man.
And the redo for this digital edition is really good.
Yeah, and it's him crawling out of the grave. He actually looks more muscular naked in this than he did in issue 1.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit more.
Spider-Man basically wakes up, or is not really awake, technically, I guess. But in his mind, he's crawling out. But he's also going through, like, he's talking to Joe Face, dead, in his...
It's the jabroni that was dead, yeah.
Yeah.
He also gets barfed out by a spider barfs him out.
Or he, like, hatches out of the spider's
abdomen,
dead body or something, yeah.
Well, so he's crawling, and then he is a spider, and then he's crawling, and there's weird monster things, and they slice his guts open, and then he crawls back out as Peter Parker. It's very weird. And
then he finds out that he's been dead for 2 weeks, and I want to call out this panel I really like, because when Spider-Man finds out he's been gone 2 weeks, you just see Kraven's face saying he's out. I just like that panel. It kind of reminds me of, those old comic covers that just have the face of the heroes in the top left?
Oh. Yeah.
It sort of reminds me of that, like that kind of frame of the face, but he's pulling the mask off. I thought it was a neat reference to that, but also of him shedding the mask. As Spider-Man is awake, he's shedding the spider persona.
Let me ask you something.
That was nice.
You're Spider-Man. You crawl out of a grave. You're at someone's private mansion with your headstone behind it. And you think, I'm going to go into that house. You're weak. You're adult.
Well, I did like this because he's not even sure if he's still alive. Like he kind of he thinks he's like still might be dead, and this is like purgatory or hell or something. Like that was kind of like a little bit of a through line through the last few issues, which I did enjoy. His mental, like trying to grasp that aspect of it. But
and he also, having read these 6 issues, Peter does not give half a fuck about his wife in any way that's perceptible. So I can see why instead of seeing how his wife is doing, he would just go into the mansion, because he doesn't seem to care at all about Mary Jane. He doesn't.
In fact, he goes in to see her, and she's like, Peter, and then like 2 seconds later, he's like, I gotta go.
I got it. Yeah, he's just out of here.
He's like, I'm still high on drugs, but I got to do this right now. I cannot.
Yeah, I don't.
Another second.
I don't know how long they've been married, but I think they already need to see a therapist, because this is. He does not seem to give a shit about her.
Not long.
Yeah, but so Spider-Man. Yeah, I don't. He also does drugs and fights stuffed animals in the mansion before seeing Mary Jane.
Well, he's on drugs. He doesn't do more.
Well, okay, but he does that.
He does fight stuffed animals though as well.
Yeah.
Like
I know I just made fun of the Mary Jane Spider relationship, but I do want to mention these 3 panels where they hold hands and Spider-Man takes her hand to his face. And that's just kind of, it felt sort of like a classic MJP sort of moment.
It is. I mean, it's also like, well, right before that, she's like, Peter, please, after what you've been through, what he's done to you. And then he's like whispering, I don't want to talk about it. And then she goes, you need time to sort it all out. For the past 2 weeks, he's like, I don't want to talk about it. And then she just goes, you're going? And he goes, I'm going. And you're just like, what? He's got some shit to work out in his head, I think,
I mean, if I wouldn't tolerate that, I mean, I could be Spider-Man, but Like, it's not like I don't know. I mean, I guess Kraven has been killing people, but for you to not, it's like, I thought you were dead for the last 2 weeks, and now you've shown up. You've been back for about 45 minutes. You're still on drugs, and now you're going back out to fight the guy who already beat the shit out of you when you were relatively at your full form. I know that he shot you with a little dart first, but I was also caught off guard. How did Spider-Man get shot by that little tranquilizer dart at the beginning? Like, how?
I think there was many of them, and his spider sense went out.
I also another question.
That's a good question.
So Spider-Man swings through the city, finds a building in the city that Kraven is in. How does he know where to go? This isn't the mansion he escaped out of.
Can he use his spider sense to locate
to hunt down
like that?
So he can hunt people down with a spider sense?
I mean, can he? If Kraven has malicious intent towards him specifically, can he? But that is a good point.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think it works that way.
Like,
he's just and I do want to say that in this
Patty,
panel
to
we
answer
see
your question, it looks like spider sense happens. He leaps up to dodge one, and then the next one takes him in the neck. So like he kind of shot. He knew Spider-Man was going to dodge.
Yeah, so Kraven was ahead of the game.
So he does find Kraven, and then in this panel we see them together. And I've got to say, physically, Kraven is the better Spider-Man. If you know what I mean. Look at that. I mean, wow.
He's a total stud.
He kind of, you know what? It's really reminiscent of Eddie Brock versus Peter in that.
Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie Brock was always drawn so jacked. He was always enormous.
Well, because he was, right?
Yeah.
He didn't wait.
Wasn't he just like a reporter? Like, why was he so enormous?
No, he was ripped in the comics.
He was like
he would do weights. He would do weights and then become Venom.
He was like, The Rock, but a journalist.
So not like a Topher Grace.
No.
I always thought that casting was weird. I was like,
have you never seen Venom in comics, Pat? He's all he was jacked.
Well, it's pretty similar to the '90s animated show, like the way he's. I guess he's less. But Venom and Spider-Man are similarly sized from the comics, I think.
Yeah.
I guess Eddie Brock isn't.
He's if Dwayne Johnson were a blonde white man and a reporter, that's Eddie Brock.
He's much. Eddie Brock is like really large for a regular guy.
Why can't reporters be large? What are you trying to say, Patrick?
I mean, they can be. It's just
Patrick,
that the one body.
You've got a normal job, and you're huge.
I'm enormous.
You would look just like Kraven in a bad Spider-Man costume.
Eddie Brock is ginormous. He's like, sometimes they draw him like body.
Yeah, no, he's Dwayne. He's like 6'3" and just jacked. He is.
I don't know why I have this in my head, but I can specifically remember a panel where he's like working out with like a shitload of weights, like on a bench, like doing bench presses.
Yeah, I've had that same image of him. Yeah, he just does that.
I specifically remember him doing bench presses. I don't know why.
There was one comic, I forgot what happened in the comic, but his intro is he's just lifting weights and thinking about Spider-Man and working himself up.
Yeah, maybe
and then he just spits out black and it just becomes Venom. And then he goes on the hunt and shit. Yeah. Okay, issue 5.
I like how Spider-Man shows up and Kraven just undresses in front of him.
Yeah.
I just Googled Eddie Brock 80s comics, and like the third image is him lifting weights.
Yeah.
Like just right away. He's not doing bench presses though. I was wrong. He's doing curls.
Yeah, but so Spider-Man just kind of starts punching Kraven, and Kraven's like, hold on, let me take my clothes off.
He's like, wait a minute.
He's like, wait.
He's like, hold your horses, let me get naked.
And then he turns back into Kraven because I guess now that he's become the better Spider and he can just become the Hunter again.
Yeah, he doesn't care. At this point, he's done the thing.
And then he
did it.
The part that threw me off.
What's the deal with him and the Vermin, though? Is he like pitting Spider-Man against Vermin again to doubly prove that he's a better Spider-Man?
Why? I just want to talk for 38 minutes about why he jumps on an elephant as if to ride it.
I don't know.
When it's a stuffed elephant.
And just thrusts.
The man is...
He's lost it.
Insane.
Well, I mean, at the end of this, he takes his own life. So, yeah, he's clearly lost it, you know? So, I mean, like, this isn't the thoughts of a rational human being.
Yeah, not. But right, but then he pits... But to Patrick, to your point, I think that is the point, is to have Spider-Man fight Vermin just to further prove that he's better because he could beat Vermin.
Yeah, but he's also taunting Vermin to get Spider-Man like pissed off at him and shit. And Spider-Man's just basically like, he needs help. I'm not gonna fight him. Like, fuck off, kind of thing.
That's where Kraven has his little epiphany that Spider-Man is a man and not a spider, and he's better than Kraven because he doesn't kill Vermin. He pulls his punch literally, and Vermin gets the upper hand. And then Kraven steps in and throws a knife at Vermin's hand, like Starship Troopers.
Yep. That's a good pull. That guy would have been a great Eddie Brock.
Would have been, yeah.
What was his name? James? No.
The guy who got stabbed or the guy who threw the knife?
No, I don't remember. The main dude from Starship Troopers, the main protagonist.
Casper Van Dien was the actor.
Casper Van Dien. Yeah, I wanted to say James Van Der Beek. I was like, that's not James Van Der Beek. Why am I mixing that up?
He was in a Tarzan movie, which is Tarzan's a white jungle man, just like Kraven. So there's a connection.
On that weirdly tangential to that, my wife was showing that George of the Jungle movie to my daughter the other day, and fucking goddamn, he was ripped in that movie. Jesus Christ. Brendan Fraser was ripped as fuck.
Now he's the whale.
I mean, yeah, well, he put on that weight. I'm not saying he wasn't heavy. I'm just saying he put on extra weight for that movie. But
no, he didn't. No, Joe, the whale was prosthetic. He did not blow up to 500 pounds. No, he put on all that weight. Yeah, that was real? Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot he was method. Yeah, I forgot he was method actor.
He put on all that weight.
He ballooned up to that.
Man, dude, Brendan Fraser, Jesus Christ. I mean, I know he's new. I mean,
he was a handsome man.
I remember him being in shape. I remember him being handsome. Not that he's not handsome now. He can be handsome and heavy. But god damn. I was like, holy shit.
No, he was a mid 90s
George of the Jungle when I was a kid, guys. I don't remember,
So Kraven just kind of thinks about his rich parents and then shoots himself in the face because he's achieved.
Yeah, so basically, but he kind of hasn't though. It's weird because he's like, "Oh, I did it. Vermin would have killed you because I egged him on enough to fight you, and you wouldn't fight back," kind of thing. And then he's like, "You can get out of here, Vermin." And Vermin leaves, and he's like, "You can't just let him leave. He's gonna kill someone again," Which I appreciated. It makes sense, Spidey.
Yeah, they kept saying his mother was insane. They said my mother was insane. He keeps saying it over and over again.
Yeah, well, we know. So he definitely inherited that because he's bonkers.
Did you know that there was a backlash with him killing himself? That they had to do like a sequel where Kraven's ghost shows up and Spider-Man has to help him, like, I guess, move on to the other side or something because people are really mad about them glorifying suicide or whatever. Which I don't think is definitely glorifying it
because Kraven's so cool. No, Kraven is so cool. Definitely all the kids would want to follow that. Yeah,
we're all talking at the same time. Patty, what were you saying?
Well, I'm just saying, like Dallas' point, like, how is this glorifying suicide? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
Out of his mind.
If you read this and think, "Oh, Kraven's awesome. I want to kill myself just like him," then you're just also crazy. There's nothing aspirational.
Well, you need help. I mean, I feel like if you have suicidal thoughts at all, you need help.
Yeah. Also, you should probably eat spiders and be Spider-Man first.
For sure.
Do the steps before you get to suicide.
Mushroom soup that you lap up off the floor out of a weird shallow bowl, and then fight like a room full of giant spiders.
Yeah. If you don't dominate a rat man in the sewer, have you really done the Kraven method? Or are you just killing yourself?
No. I mean, you gotta wear Spider-Man's black costume and slowly work your way up to murder.
It's not about killing yourself. It's about doing all the steps that lead to it. All right, so Kraven's dead.
Spider-Man leaves on before he kills himself, though, Spider-Man leaves on the promise, the vow, I suppose, that if he leaves to go after Vermin, Kraven swears he will never hunt again. And for some reason, Spider-Man's like, all right.
Well, because Kraven...
He does say I'll be back, but he's like, as in, like, I don't fucking believe you for 5 seconds, but I gotta go stop this.
Well, Kraven does say, I'm a man of my word. So when someone says that, obviously
and he's
you
like,
know to trust
Kraven the Hunter will never hunt again.
And I enjoyed the last issue. The last issue is Spider-Man going after Vermin, and he goes in the sewers, and he's having, like, PTSD flashbacks from being in the coffin. And I enjoyed that aspect.
This one was pretty interesting, by the way.
It's also
there's a lot
going
of, like, crawling around in literal shit and piss, and then at the end, like, he just goes and like hugs Mary Jane. Like, I'm just like, come on, dude.
I also the sewer
Take the
thing.
Costume off, get a shower, then kiss your wife. You know.
Well, the sewer thing is also interesting because going back to, I know we talked about Hercules with the lion mane, but in classical mythology, Hercules is, of course, a classic chthonic hero, which is a hero, he went to the underworld and came back. Theseus did as well. It was a classic Greek, the symbol of rebirth, kind of, and going into the earth and coming back out and cheating death is a classic Greek mythological trope. Yeah. And so Spider-Man, I mean, in addition to having been buried, also now is again going back into the sewer and coming back out as that same kind of, same sort of setup. That same conceit of
while
going
this
underground.
Is happening, they're burying, they dug yet another grave. Kraven's weird, I don't know, butler crew?
Still not wearing a shirt.
Is burying
Still not
him,
wearing a shirt.
But also Kraven sends his confession to the police and or the reporters. I don't know.
Yeah, and basically he confesses to, because otherwise they might think that Spider-Man had killed all those people. But he confesses to.
You gotta write that wrong before the.
Also, his confession has a picture of him taking his clothes off.
Wait, what?
Look at that.
It's him putting the costume on.
No, it's him taking the.
It's him with Spider-Man's body in a coffin, and then him putting the costume on. As in, I'm doing this now.
Well, I mean, it is like. You could have waited to take the picture after you put the shirt on the way.
No, you had to show. He was showing that like those abs are unmistakable. If you see that photographic evidence, you're like, that's got to be Kraven. There's no way
true.
That's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
no
but
so you really need to show at least halfway up, so you can be like, oh. Shit,
and in the meantime, Spider-Man fights Vermin in the sewers. Again, just like Hercules had to fight Cerberus in the underworld. Spider-Man is fighting.
You're really giving. I mean, I like what you're doing, but you're giving this comic way too much credit.
It was funny
when intentional.
When the police find his confession, he goes, "This place sure did belong to Kraven," and the other guy goes, "Seems that way." And the first guy goes, "A lot more than seems, sir. We found something." And he's like, "What?" And he hands him the picture of Kraven putting the Spider-Man costume on.
The costume on.
It's documented.
It all adds up.
Turns out Spider-Man's not a murderer. We got it all wrong. Send it to the papers, boys. Make sure that's printed for the late edition so it hits the streets just in time for Spider-Man to emerge.
And what's weird, too, is it's printed in the Daily Bugle, and like J. Jonah Jameson would never print that, right? It's weird that it's printed in the Bugle.
I disagree. J. Jonah is always about the truth. And despite his personal biases, he would never not print the truth.
So, non sequitur to all that, just jumping at the end.
He's a newsman to his core. His hatred of Spider-Man is second.
I've got a question. So, jumping to the end, why does Mary Jane have a picture of a blonde quarterback in her album? It's her family album, and there's a picture of a blonde quarterback.
Is that Flash Gordon?
Why does she have a picture of Flash
Thompson?
Flash Gordon is a spacefaring.
That's true.
High school, bro. They're all friends.
But it's not a yearbook. It's just her album. And like with pictures of her and Peter, she has
friends. That's Peter's friend.
That's kind of weird.
They were best friends. Yeah. He never teased him. He never got bullied. They're best friends.
Also, she's back to just being a sex pot in a t-shirt.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, like, what do you wear when you're sitting around the house? I'm walking around in button-ups and no pants all the time.
Does she have a job, or does she just exist to hug and welcome Peter home?
She's a model, bro. Do you not know anything about Mary Jane?
I haven't seen her model. I just see her wait at home for Peter in this. I haven't seen her model. The only thing she's modeled is Peter's shirt.
Again, she's like, Peter, you're home. And he's like, covered in shit and piss. Yes, I am. Yeah. And then she's like, oh, let me hug you.
Yeah, he's probably covered in like vermin jizz and piss.
Oh my God, so much. Yeah. And blood and just all kinds of disease. Just gross.
And then another thing that's sort of...
Real quick, I know I mentioned it earlier, but the way he defeats Vermin is like he pulls him... Vermin's gotten brave enough to go out, of the sewers. And then he basically... runs from Vermin because he can't defeat him underground, and then he's like, I'm gonna chase you, and he's like, oh shit, he went up, oh fuck it, I'm brave enough, and he goes up and it's daytime, and he's like, oh shit, and it gets, that's it. And it's so funny because like right after that he just webs him up like it's nothing, like it's just like,
that's all it takes.
I got this, super easy, just whoop whoop whoop.
Well, I love how Spider-Man's like, I'm gonna hand you over to Reed Richards, he'll cure you. It's like, yeah, sure he will. He's been telling the Thing that for about 80 years.
Yeah, no.
He's helped the Thing on and off again, and it always comes back around that he's just a rock man again.
He's just got to be disfigured. Yeah, that's the only
Secretly, Reed knows he needs the muscle on his team.
Yeah,
and there's nowhere else to get it in the Marvel universe. There's nowhere else to get
There's
muscle on
something
your
I
team.
love so much about that. Like, did you guys ever watch Venture Brothers? Because they kind of nail that whole like Fantastic Four, and Reed Richards is just like really fucked up.
I think it's Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert voices the Reed Richards character,
really
and
perfect
it's
representation of like what they're really like.
It's pretty great. Okay, and then another problematic thing. So, Kraven gets buried with leopard skin on his coffin. That seems problematic, right? That's just weird, right?
Why is that problematic?
It's appropriating something, right?
Also,
I mean, I feel like it's pure appropriation. Also, he's Russian.
He is
like
Russian.
if he was like South African, I'd be like, all right, well, I mean,
I should have done research. I want to know who invented Sergei Kravinoff as Kraven the African Hunter. Like, what's the?
Yeah, that's kind of the part I'm
insane.
saying. I'm like, that part's weird. It's like that old like Victorian era British hunter with the big curl mustache and the rifle that has a bell end. You know what I mean?
Alan Quatermain.
Yeah.
And the League of Appropriating Gentlemen.
Extraordinary Gentlemen, played by Sean Connery. His last movie.
I know, and that makes sense, right? Would you make another after that one? I would stop making movies too.
Again, I don't have a picture of this, but like the new version of this, that's pretty good, man. I mean, it's him redrawing his own drawing, so it's nothing crazy. But like the modern colors on his art, it's good. I like it.
Wait, the chameleon is Kraven's half brother?
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, they talk. So, another quick thing I wanted to mention. Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation 5 by Insomniac Games is very, like, it's basically this storyline times Venom. Like, it's about Kraven who's dying from cancer going on a last hunt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's also, like, in the final
so this
boss
is weirdly topical.
Yeah. Well, the final boss is Venom, because that part happens kind of towards the end, but the lead up to it is Kraven, who's dying of cancer, going on kind of a last hunt in New York, and he's taking out all the villains, like all the meta-human villains, and Spider-Man and Miles Morales and all that.
I
Which is pretty topical.
That's what... I didn't know anything about this storyline, and I kind of thought it was going to be about him hunting Spider-Man. I didn't think it was going to be about becoming Spider-Man, and the Vermin character really...
Well, I mean, he does hunt Spider-Man in the beginning.
Yeah, for
he hunts him and kills him.
Pages, like real quick.
He hunts him and kills him. He gets dropped off in a helicopter by one of his many butlers. He hunts him and kills him.
I could see if you were reading this in the 80s and you read that first issue and they're burying Spider-Man at the end, where you'd be like,
"You're like, holy shit!" Yeah,
what the fuck?
A couple of questions. What kind of drugs are you on that puts you to sleep but keeps you alive underground in a coffin for 2 weeks? That's fucking. I mean, I don't know what drug cocktail he's got his hands on, but that sounds pretty hardcore.
There are drugs that kind of slow your heartbeat and feign death, right, for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but like for that,
so it must be
2 weeks with zero food.
That's a long time. 2 weeks is a long time.
Well, like what?
What if
that's insane?
Maybe he woke up like every day, but the shirtless gravedigger bonked him. Yeah, just bonked him on the head.
A little straw with a ball on the end of it, and he's just like lapping up little drops of water or something.
No, I think the shirtless gravedigger just bonked him on the head every time he'd come out.
Oh, okay. He's like, you're not ready yet. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he'd forget.
Here's a bag of Cheetos. You're not ready yet.
He's probably got like 12 doses of CTE from all the head bonks.
So the list I found, Al, is this is not the greatest story. Kraven's Last Hunt has dropped all the way, and you guys guess the number, down to what?
5.
Is this Price is Right rules? Do I want to go? No, I'm going to go 6. I'm just going to go 1 over 6.
Incorrect, just 2. Just drop down one notch.
Well, we both went over. So we lost.
Yeah,
what's number 1?
Number 1 is The Night Gwen Stacy Died. And it's Amazing Spider-Man 121 and 122. It looks like it was written in... Oh, I don't have a date. That's weird.
Okay. It was probably written in 69.
No, it looks recent. It looks 97-ish 2000-ish.
This was not the storyline that
Coloring
turned
wise.
out that Gwen Stacy had kids with Norman Osborn, right? Or whatever the fuck that was. I'd assume it's not.
What?
The night Gwen Stacy died? The night
She
Gwen
had
Stacy died
kids
features
with
one of the most
Norman.
significant turning points in Spider-Man's career in the comic book industry at large. The death of his first love traumatized Peter Parker for years, forcing him to evolve. The story shocked both fans and creators. Oh, is it just like a modern cover of that old? That must be what that is then.
Wow.
Yeah, she was in a relationship with Norman Osborn.
Since past, she
Gwen
had
Stacy
twins.
is unquestionably the single greatest Spider-Man story ever told that also left its mark on the comic industry. Interesting.
Okay. But yeah, Pat, in Since Past, she had twins with Norman.
This is wild because, I don't know, I guess we will get a lot of hate for this episode, but reading this story now, I guess I could see how it was kind of groundbreaking 35 years ago, but for it to hold up as being in the top, like there's not
to
really
hold
any
up
other
to be
Spider-Man.
I get it being in like that because that list is 25 long, and it being on the list, sure,
Yeah.
but like just because like it was a groundbreaking at the time and blah blah whatever you want to say, but to be the second best, like you're out of your fucking minds.
It did not.
Spider-Man's not even in it. I mean, he's kind of in it.
That's what I was gonna say.
Like,
He's barely
like
in
that.
it.
Can't. I don't know. Like I know this is crazy. I don't know. And also, of course, Kraven comes back to life at some point, so he's just alive again.
Yeah, but it's also the thing is that not being about Spider-Man could be done well. We've ad nauseum we've brought up the Batman animated series example of focusing on villains over the heroes. So that trope.
Oh
can
yeah,
be
there's
done
nothing wrong with that. It's just that like,
this one didn't do it well, but it can be done well.
Wild, because it really kind of makes me not eager to read a bunch of other Spider-Man comics.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like Spider-Man, at least classic,
Joe,
full on 616 Peter Parker run of Spider-Man's is always been kind of like it's more about the journey and not like specific arcs. Like it's more about like reading his like. I've never been like, oh, I loved that run on Spider-Man, only if it was like the artist and or the writing team, but it was never really about like any specific story in that run. It was always just like, oh, this has been a really good creative team on Spider-Man for X amount of books kind of thing.
Yeah, Joe, do you hear, whenever Patrick talks, do you hear like a weird kind of feedback sound?
No, I do.
If you listen, it's kind of like a, does this pass the Bechdel test? The Bechdel test? The Bechdel test? Does this pass the Bechdel test? The answer's probably no. This one doesn't.
Answer's no.
Not at all.
No.
Good God, no.
No, it doesn't pass any
not
test.
Not even remotely close.
No test. No
as
test.
Far away as you can get. I mean,
no
Mary Jane
Makomori,
is
no.
Basically used as like
the sexy lamp. Yeah, she's the sexy lamp.
Yeah, 100%.
There's
the
no.
Sinister Six is 9 on this list. What the?
How is this more iconic than the Sinister?
The death of Spider-Man from the Ultimate Comics is 11. That's like top 5 to me, at least. Okay. That was a fantastic story.
All right, let's not list out all the.
Oh, but I'm just kind of saying, like, these are the things that people think are less good than Kraven. Birth of Venom, that was iconic as fuck. I love that story arc. When Venom opens his mouth and smiles for the first time, like from the shadows, like Mary Jane thinks it's Peter, and he's like all, wearing the black costume, and it's kind of that same, like the villain's wearing the costume kind of thing, and he's in the same fucking room with her. And then the smile open, I was like, oh my God, she's gonna die. Like I was fucking scared as shit.
Are we done? I don't have anything else to say about that. I did not enjoy this comic. I don't recommend it. I didn't like it.
I didn't.
Well, I mean, let's officially do it. Recommend or pass fail. What do? We say it differently every time.
I think we say recommend, but last time we gave letter grades, so I don't know.
That was the overall takes. Also, we didn't do it again just quickly. I was about to say that at the beginning, Patty, and then I was like, I'm not going to say it.
I'm going to give it a K for Kraven, which is a failing grade. It's worse.
I'm going to give it an F. All right, I'll give it a D minus. It's not like an. It's not the worst thing I've ever read. And also, again, I really like Mike Zeck's art from back in the day. Like that was Spider-Man. That was Spider-Man's artist to me, like back in the day. So like that kind of. I mean, I just can't go lower because of that. But yeah, D minus. Didn't like it. So no, don't recommend Kraven's Last Hunt, you could definitely just read the Wikipedia page and be like, oh, that's what happened. Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. I would be interested to talk to somebody who would recommend it, though, because I don't know if I'm missing some thematic content. Like, I didn't analyze it, and I don't understand why it's...
So, I'm not big into Russian literature either, and that was a huge, like, creative space for him to come from to write this story. So maybe there's something we're missing there. Because in terms of Russian literature, nothing. I've basically read nothing. I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't read a lot, but I don't think this story references any actual Dostoevsky or anything like that.
Oh, so is it just like I really found that those writings interesting and Kraven happens to be Russian?
That's literally what he said. Yeah.
That's fucking damn it. All right.
Well, there is let me I think generally there is something to that idea of insanity running in the family and the sort of naturalist idea of I'm also going to go insane and I want to go out on my own terms.
Okay, so maybe there's
something generally there with probably one of those books, but I mean it's not a very direct reference. I don't think to any specific Dostoevsky.
Yeah, like on Reddit, I'm not gonna read all this, but like there are people doing like pages of analysis on the storyline, so maybe there's something.
There's clearly that's what I'm saying. Like,
the Mobius Couch has failed listeners, then, but I'm not.
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, so do that research. Here's the key, though. Like, we're reading it at face value for what that is, kind of thing. We're not like diving deep into like the thematic elements of like what the writer was thinking when he was. We're just reading this at face value and looking at the art and reading it and going, "Hey, didn't enjoy that story." Like that's, which is fair, And if you are one of those people that likes to dive deep and really deconstruct a story arc, maybe there's a lot more here than we're touching on. But
and again, like if it's through like
second best Spider-Man story of all time, I disagree.
For it to be Spider-Man, like if this was a Gambit from the X-Men storyline, I'd be like, okay, Gambit's
just a random guy.
Sure. How many?
If this was an actual Wonder Man story, I'd be like, okay. Probably one of the best Wonder Man stories ever made.
I mean, I guess maybe in the 80s, this was one of the first times you really depicted a villain dealing with mental illness. I don't know. But again, reading it in 2024, I didn't think it was going to be as batshit crazy it was. Like Kraven being naked, fighting taxidermy stuffed animals, and then drinking shroom juice and fighting a giant ant, like made out of not ants, a giant spider made out of other spiders, It's unhinged. I don't know. I still wouldn't recommend it. I would love to talk to someone who would recommend it. Just be like, what the fuck am I missing here? Because I don't understand. Anywho.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's been Kraven's Last Hunt on the Mobius Couch, boys. I think we did comics. I think we won. Did it.
This was our last hunt on Kraven.
Good journey. Good journey.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.